Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Regal podcast with me, Jordan Lewis. And today I'm joined by Michelle Kavanagh, who is a social media influencer and business brand builder. So, first of all, hello, Michelle. Welcome to the podcast. Would you like to give a quick introduction to who you are and what you do?
Yeah, hi, Jordan. Thanks for having me. So, as Jordan mentioned, my name is Michelle, and I help entrepreneurs and service-based businesses build a brand online and help them with that thing that most people don't like to do, which is sales. So I make sales a lot more easy and a lot more fun and enjoyable so that you can actually have a business, because so many of the times we focus on a lot of the things that matter but don't actually matter in the bank account. So I really help entrepreneurs get over the fear of being salesy and enjoy sales.
Absolutely. I know from running my own business that sales is difficult for a lot of people, and even if it's not difficult, even if you have sales experience, it can be very daunting because, there's such a high chance of failure, isn't it? So it makes you really nervous. Okay, I'll get into the first question then. So, on your social media, you like to share a lot of the personal side of your life, such as your relationship with Craig, your dog Daisy, and of course yourself, including your hobbies. So, why do you think that building a personal brand is so powerful, and what is your number one piece of advice for anyone looking to start building their own personal brand?
Yeah, I think that's a fabulous question, and building a personal brand now is so important online, especially because if you think about it, there's a lot of people doing a lot of things, and someone buys from you if they like what you're doing, if they like what your service, your product, right? But then there's another layer of it, and it's if they actually like you as a person, if they vibe with you, if they have similar hobbies as you. So building a personal brand is almost like that extra layer that you're adding on to your overall service or product. So I like to, if you're just starting off building a personal brand, I like to what I call build a content house. And so what this content house is essentially the walls of your house. You have the roof, and you want to not only talk about your business, but you want to think of who it is that you're speaking to, and think of different categories that you can create content around. And so one of your categories might just be what you're up to, what your hobbies are, what your interests are, but you need to make sure that you understand what the end goal of this brand is. It's not just kind of like freestyling it and just kind of posting as you go. There needs to be an intention. And so you need to think of your personal brand like that. There needs to be that end goal, that intention for it, so that if something comes up, might be a political issue, might be, something else, you want to make sure that you're in your parameters of your content house so it doesn't seem off-brand, if you will. So I think, showing a little bit behind the scenes, your family, your pets, whatever it is that's important to you, I think that you should incorporate into your story, because people buy you more than they buy the product or the service itself.
Absolutely. They need to know, like, and trust you as much as they do the business to buy from you, or just to even listen to what you're saying. Absolutely. How do you find the balance then between posting parts of your personal life, say your pets, and still trying to keep it relevant to what you actually do, the services you provide, and to your customers, without kind of going too far into irrelevant content that isn't moving the customer towards the sale?
Yeah, so I think you would need to look at the frequency. So how often you're posting. So let's call it, if you're posting every single day something on Instagram, you need to be posting 6 days of business-focused content. Maybe that's inspirational, maybe that's social proof, maybe that's how-to hacks, tips, tricks, that kind of thing, anything under that business umbrella. And then I would say 1 day a week you can post something not irrelevant, but something that's really building that like factor. Besides just on your regular feed, you can do that really well in the stories. So stories are great because they disappear after 24 hours. And you can engage with people, so polls are really fabulous as well to kind of get that back and forth, so conversation going. So I would say if you're posting every day, one day a week that you can post something about your pets, but try to make it still about them. You know, why a pet is helpful to run a 7-figure business, right? And they're like, what? But you're still talking about your pet, but then you're still talking about a business tip too. So just thinking to yourself, how can you show a little bit of your life, but make it about them?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so yeah, show that personal side, but relate it to what it is you're kind of sharing. And also, it sort of sounds like it's okay to have these different types of content, but you've got to understand that there's a different purpose behind each type. So obviously you can have this educational type, you can have this salesy type, but then you can have the personal type, which is more for building the like factor rather than trying to sell, or rather than trying to sell your business. It's about selling you.
Yeah, and I think it can kind of get overwhelming sometimes. People are like, oh my gosh, and you know, I have to post this and this and this, and then oftentimes when people see that there's so much to do, they do nothing at all. They get overwhelmed and they don't even know where to start. So I think, you know, just really having that end goal. If you've never done an ideal avatar, ideal customer profile before, make sure you do that. Make sure you not only like figure out who the person is you're talking to, you know, where they live, all of those important questions, but you also print out a photo. So I like to go to Google and I like to just type in a photo of somebody that, you know, is my ideal person, print it out so that you have it in your workstation. So everything that you do, you're talking just to that one person. So that's really helpful in kind of taking a lot of the things and a lot of the overwhelm and just really focusing on, hey, I'm just writing a piece of content to help, you know, Melissa out with her week. And if you look at it like that, with your end business in mind, it becomes a lot more fun and enjoyable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, and that's definitely something that I've seen a lot of successful entrepreneurs such as yourself doing with their content. When you create your content then, do you like kind of visualize and have a specific target customer in mind, or have you kind of gone down the route of creating content and seeing which niche it resonates with best and then going down that route instead?
No, very specific. So I have one person, I have one woman that I talk to, and that's who all of my content is for. Now, the cool thing is let's say my ideal person is 32 years old from New York City. That doesn't mean necessarily I'm not going to work from someone from San Francisco who is 40, but they resonate with my message, they resonate with what I'm saying, which is really great. And that's how you can stay true to yourself too. And I think, you know, this shiny object syndrome, people get so distracted, right? They're like, well, this person wants to work with me. Well, this person wants to work with me. That's great. There's a lot of people that you can help. But by being too broad is not a good thing. You need to be very specific, and other people will come to you based on your message.
Okay, yeah. So be super specific with who you're targeting with your content, but in terms of actually who you work with, you may resonate with somebody, like you said, from San Diego or San Francisco, whatever you said, instead of New York. But you try and appeal to that specific niche. Okay, fantastic. Next question then. So obviously you're a very, very busy person. You've got lots and lots of things going on. Like you said, right now you're doing some in-person masterminds and some virtual masterminds. So what does, generally speaking, your weekly work schedule look like? How do you organise your time? And when do you wake up and make sure and how do you make sure you get to sleep at the right time? So we'll start with the first question. What does your weekly work schedule look like?
Yeah, so I used to schedule a lot of things in a day, and now I've really, really liked batching things. And if you're familiar with my fiance Craig, he talks about batching your content, but it's also about batching your day. So think to yourself, if you're doing one task an hour and then you're doing another task and another task and another task, how can you do a longer chunk on one focused task, and you'll just get so much more done. So to answer your question, I get up at 5:30, and the first thing I do is content creation. So I write because it's quiet, it's a good time for me to write, to create, and to think of who I need to connect with. So it's kind of like this very mindful meditation kind of morning, but it's just writing. Then we take the dog out around 7:30, and we have a little dog time, and we come back and we have breakfast, and then I go into working again. So then I have another 90-minute work block where I'll open my email, I'll respond to, DMs, stuff like that. So really, if you think about it, like my morning is set up very about like things that are going to move my business forward. So like the writing, pieces of content, creating, and then after breakfast, it's all about external. So it's all about responding. So that's kind of the way that I set up my day. And then usually the afternoons I'll create content. So if I need to make a video, if I need to, do podcast, stuff like that, that's usually in the afternoons. Every day is a little bit different, but that's kind of the general structure of my days.
Okay, fair enough. And do you get up at 5:30 every single day, like weekends, bank holidays, all that good stuff? Yeah.
Every day, yes. 5:30, sometimes earlier. But I find that 5:30 is a good time for me because it allows me to get that time before we take the dog out, which is kind of like if you've got a responsibility like a dog, like they don't care. They're like, I need to go out, right? And so knowing that I want to get some stuff done before I take the dog out, I'm like, okay, I have to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have to get up before that happens. So yeah, that's kind of a good way of looking at it. It's one of the many benefits of owning a dog, I would imagine. So, okay, my kind of the big question for me then, because I'm somebody who I can get up early and I can get up when I need to get up. The issue for me more is getting to sleep at the right time, because it gets to night time and I kind of become distracted with whatever else I might want to do, whether it's going out and seeing a friend pre-COVID or whether it's, chilling, listening to music, whatever I might be doing. So then I kind of struggle to get to sleep at the right time, and then that sets me up badly for the next day. So what is your advice to make sure that you get to sleep at the right time? Because as well, what time do you sleep then to wake up at 5:30?
Yeah, okay, well you can't laugh at me, but we go to bed at 8 o'clock. Now, last night we had a dinner, so of course, night there's more distractions that come up, right? And so last night we got to bed around 9, but usually we are asleep. Sometimes even when we were in Vancouver and it was starting to get dark at 5 o'clock, we would be asleep by 7:30. So it helps, if you live with someone and they're on the same schedule as you. But if you live with someone, let's say, who is a night owl and you want to get to bed early because that's what makes you feel good, I think it's just opening up that communication and just saying, hey, I need to get to bed early. And, if it's a roommate or whoever else, hopefully they respect that. And if they watch TV, maybe they can get headphones, while they watch TV so it's not noise in the room. But I think, it's ultimately about understanding what makes you feel good. And, if you are a social person, maybe it's you tell yourself 2 nights a week, it's going to be social, I'm going to see friends on Tuesdays and Thursdays or Wednesdays and Fridays or whatever it might be, and you need to stick to that. Because then, you'll just be bored at home or whatever, and then someone will say, hey, you want to go meet up for, a drink or something? And you're like, yeah, sure. And then it's midnight, and now, your Tuesday is off to a slow start. So I think just knowing what's important to you and telling yourself, okay, 2 days a week, whatever that might be for you, I'll let myself stay up a couple hours later. But truly, if you go to bed at the same time and you wake up at the same time, I know it's super boring, but you will feel your absolute best.
Mm-hmm. I've definitely noticed, when I'm waking up at the same time, at least it's, even if I'm tired because I've only had a few hours sleep some nights, if I wake up at the same time every day, I have infinitely more energy than even when I get enough sleep. But I wake up at, 10 a.m. some days, so yeah, I can definitely see the benefits of that. And what do your morning and nighttime routines look like then?
Yeah, so nighttime routine is basically we eat dinner around 5 o'clock, and it's just kind of chill time. Craig and I will connect on how our day was. We'll have a good conversation about what, tomorrow is going to look like. And, it's kind of like a shower, chill. Sometimes we'll read, and then we're asleep, take the dog out again. So actually our mornings and our evenings look very similar. It's a lot of just kind of downtime, no technology, and talking to each other, reading, dog, sleep. Same thing in the mornings, besides we both like to write. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I think it's important to have a consistent routine, especially to start and end the day, because if you start the day strong, you set the rest of the day up strong, and if you end the day strong, you then set up yourself up for a strong next day. So, yeah, sounds really good. Thank you. Okay, next question then. So, throughout your posts, your content, your videos, etc., you talk a lot about loving yourself, feeling confident within yourself, and truly appreciating all that you are, especially as a woman and of course as a human being. So what is your advice to anyone who maybe doesn't feel as confident right now, who really struggles to find anything to appreciate about themselves, to get more of a confident, happier state of mind?
Oh, great question. So I like to believe that people tried their best. They really do. And to do with, early on programming, whatever that might look like for you, somewhere along the lines, things have gone sideways. And so a lot of the times people will act out in ways that aren't in alignment with themselves, but it's a coping mechanism, right? So if you think about it, like people that, are overweight, for instance, they use food as a coping mechanism for something that had happened, or something stressful that they're dealing with in some cases, right? And so I think it's really, if you want to be a more confident person and you want to, start loving yourself a little bit more, it's almost like figuring out what that thing is for you, getting real with yourself and figuring out like, okay, what is that thing? Where are the steps that I'm at right now? Because let's say you're at like a 10, like you are just not in a good space, and where you need to start is a 1. Like most often people try to tackle the thing that's at the 10 right off the bat, and it's like you're not ready for that yet. So how can you start to, take those small steps up from 1? So the first thing is to really understand what it is. What are you doing? Are you sabotaging relationships? Are you sleeping in? Are you drinking too much? Are you overeating? Whatever that thing is that's not making you feel good, and your gut will tell you. I believe that everyone is intuitive. So, listening to whatever that thing is, that coping mechanism that you're reaching for, and then starting to crush it. So identifying what that coping mechanism is, crushing it, and how you do that is by thinking to yourself, what can I do today that will move me one step closer? And so maybe that's, not having that extra drink. Not drinking completely. That might be like way up here, right? But maybe it's you like to drink 4 glasses of wine a night. Maybe it's having 3. Maybe it's having 2. Maybe it's having 1. And so it's all about baby steps in the right direction. But the thing is you have to understand what it is that's causing you discomfort and pain. And that's a very uncomfortable conversation to have with yourself. So you can find out some of these things by journaling. You can go into meditation. There's a lot of really great resources on YouTube. The Mindful Movement is one of my favorites. She's just got such a soothing voice, but just really trying to tap into your subconscious, however you figure out how to do that, is really important in loving yourself. And then proving yourself wrong, proving all of those people who told you can't do it, who, said, oh, forget it, whatever. It's about, proving to yourself you can do it. So it's action, really taking action on baby steps that will move you towards whatever that goal is in your life. And if the goal is just simply loving yourself, how can I nourish my body with delicious foods that are good for me, that will give me energy? How can I reduce inflammation in my body because I want to have the most energy for my kids or for my partner or whoever that might be? I want to sleep better at night. So how can I have a less stressful day? Who can I be honest with? And often the first thing comes with being honest with yourself. So that's where I would start. I mean, confidence and loving yourself is a massive book made of so many chapters. And so it's really going back to chapter 1 and retelling that story that you're telling yourself and really taking action on the things that serve you in life instead of reaching for those things that are just distractions and are like Band-Aid solutions.
Very elegantly put. That definitely makes a lot of sense, and it is absolutely a journey rather than jumping straight to chapter 10. So how do you find the balance between giving yourself love and appreciating everything you've achieved, but still trying to push yourself to achieve more, to do more, to be more?
Yeah, I think reminding yourself of why. Why it is that you're getting started, why it is that you do what you do. And knowing that, I think as far as you are on your journey, you start to understand that nothing is going to ever be 100% the way that you think it's going to be. And so really just being more like generous with yourself, with the words that you're speaking to yourself. So I think that that's where I would start with that, really honoring the things that are important to you, and having a set schedule and sticking to it, because then that will not only allow you to move forward with things that are important now, but also honoring yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you're talking about words that you're speaking to yourself, are you talking about the internal voice, or are you talking about affirmations?
Yeah, the internal voice, definitely. There's an exercise that I like to do, and it's basically you go into a really relaxed position. So some people like to close their eyes, some people, like to lie down, and you really just watch your thoughts pass. And what I mean by that is if you close your eyes and you just think of what is the thought that's coming in, and if it's serving you or not. And so you ask yourself, I'm thinking about this thing right now, is it serving me? And if it's not serving you and making you grow into your fullest potential, you literally send it off. So it's almost like a visualization, so it can come in through the right side and leave through the left side. And so the more mindful and aware you become with controlling these thoughts and turning up the volume on the good stuff and turning down the volume on the bad stuff, the more simple it will be to control your mindset. And that will help for confidence and everything too, because you'll be like, that's a lie. Like, I don't want to hear that right now. So that exercise can be really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll give it a go and I'll let you know how I get on. Okay,
yeah, please do.
Next question. I will, thank you. Okay, so in the past you've talked about some of the mistakes you've made, both in your personal and business life. And if you're comfortable talking about it, what are the biggest mistakes you feel you've made throughout your life? And more importantly, how have you worked to overcome them to get to where you are today?
Yeah, I'm one of those people that I don't really think anything in my life has been a mistake. I think that everything in my life has served its purpose, and it was just hard to see until now. And what I mean by that is, the people you surround yourself with, and, whether it's you're drinking a lot or you're doing drugs or, you're just going down a different path, I do believe that strengthens you. And so I'm not telling everyone to go down that path, but I do believe that being confident in making a decision for yourself, and then, understanding that there's a lesson in everything that you do is all part of it. If you just lived this perfectly scripted life, you wouldn't have the value and the lessons that you would share now. So I've definitely lived a lot, I've traveled a lot, I've, done a lot of things that I wouldn't even do them differently though, I worked for a lot of different alcohol brands, I've been in that party scene for a while, in most of my 20s, and what I learned is that my mindset towards people, I always thought people were, I don't want to say all people were bad, but I always thought that people had bad intentions. I never thought there was a lot of good people out there. I thought everyone was just there to screw you over and use you and all this stuff. And so I think for me, it really changed the dialogue that I told myself now. It's no, people are not bad. People are not meant to screw you over, to lie, to cheat, to do all this stuff. People are just confused in their own skin, and they act out of what they know. And I think once I started to understand that and started to surround myself with people who really truly want the best for you, because I've always been the kind of person that wants the best for everyone. I will give someone my last dollar. That's just the kind of mentality that I've always had, because I've always been someone to serve and to help others. And so for me, when I wasn't getting that in return, it was confusing to me. But it was just the people I was surrounding myself with. They weren't my people. And so, I think it's so important to find your people. And if something doesn't feel right for you and you feel like you're in a mess and you don't feel like you have the support, there are good people out there that want to help you and that want to see you succeed. And that might not be your blood. That might not be your family. And that's okay, because there's going to be other people that you will consider to be your family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I'm very much the same in terms of, I don't believe that there are mistakes. Everything happens for a reason. And like, if I look at my past of friends or romantic relationships or even business partnerships that haven't worked out, at the very least it's teaching you who you don't want to, like, who aren't your people, like you said, who you don't need to be around, and equally what you do value in those kind of relationships. So yeah, absolutely. Thank you for your insight. Okay, so you've actually recently started a new Instagram venture, talking about your explant journey, as you're calling it, so removing your breast implants. Mm-hmm. My first question is, what are your reasons for having them removed, and of course getting them in the first place? And what is the process like overall?
Yeah, so I got them because I thought that I would be a more liked person. I thought that, by having them, it was going to make me feel better about myself. And so when I talked earlier about those things that we kind of grab for, substances, whatever, I thought that by getting them, I was going to love myself more, and I was just really insecure, to be completely honest. And so the reason why I'm getting them removed is because I don't resonate with this look anymore. And what I mean by that is, I think it was early 2000s probably. Everyone was getting breast implants. It was like a thing, and they were very high profile, meaning like very high on your chest, and they were just kind of like these rock hard plastic circles, right? And I just feel like now, not only is it trendy to have smaller boobs, although I'm not going with the trends, but I've really just come to start to love myself a lot more. And this might sound a bit spiritual, depending on who's listening, but when you have implants, it blocks your heart chakra. And so in order to fully love outwards, I believe that there's a barrier there. And so your heart's on your left side, and I just feel like they need to come out. Now, besides that whole aspect of thing, they've been causing me a ton of back pain. They've been causing me a ton of stomach issues. I've had inflammation in my body for the last 6 years, joint pain, fog, like memory fog, forgetfulness. I've suffered with anxiety, depression. So if you look into breast implant illness, it's a thing. It's a thing that I have a group that's 140,000 women, and they've all taken out their implants. Most of them are in the U.S., although there are doctors worldwide that will do it. And it's just become a thing. And if you think about it, like putting bags of gel inside your body, that can't be good for you. Like it's almost the question we have to ask is like, who allowed this in the first place? Like, really? We're putting a foreign object in our body, and our body is fighting it all the time. No wonder why we're tired. No wonder why we have all of these other things that appear in our body, because our body's in constant war. It's amazing. Like, I've seen women who have had them removed, and their skin, like, they literally, you can look at their face and they look 10 years younger within 2 months of taking them out. Like, they have this glow to them, and it just goes to show, like, wow, like someone looks okay now, but they will look so much better with them out. So, I'm just in a different phase in my life where I feel like I don't need that, and I feel like I can really I need my health back. My health is number one, and I just feel like, anyone who's thinking about doing it, really look into the research as to what they are. I didn't do the proper research. I was more so just on the vanity, side of things, like, oh, I want them and I want them now. But I would really do your research and I would join groups that are women getting them removed, and I'd really make an educated decision whether or not that's something that you want to go down. There's lots of different treatments you can get. You can get fat injections, so basically if you want more volume in your boobs, you can get fat transfers, so from other parts of your body, so you're using your own body's material, if you will. So I mean, there's so much more advancement now in that way of things. So I would tell every young girl, don't do it. Don't do it. You're beautiful. You don't need that. And if you're feeling a sense of lack of confidence, lack of self-worth, address where that's coming from rather than doing something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we are definitely seeing, in terms of breast implants, we're seeing kind of like a transition more towards the natural body and kind of appreciating the natural body, which is kind of why we're now seeing more of a trend of people and women removing their breast implants or not getting these breast implants and modifications to other parts of their body as well. Do you have the same kind of attitude towards things like tattoos and piercings as well, or do you feel that they have more artistic value than, say, breast implants?
I love tattoos. I think tattoos are really cool. I think that tattoos are a way of expression in a way that's not harming your health. So I believe that if people want to color their hair different colors, get different piercings, tattoos, I'm all for it. I'm all for, other kinds of plastic surgery too. So if you want to get something, if you hate your nose and, getting your nose, adjusted in a way, or if you can't breathe or something like that, if something is going to better your health, I'm all for it. So I'm all about, doing what makes you happy, but the biggest thing with all of this is really identifying that thing as to why you were getting it done in the first place. So the main thing that I'm against is the implants, because you're putting a foreign object in your body and is affecting your health. So anything that's going to affect your health and makes you have different side effects, I'm not into.
But if you're choosing to get something because it either benefits your health or because you genuinely want to, regardless of what everybody else is doing, then that to you is kind of okay and desirable in that sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I know a girl actually in the UK, and she had a massive nose. And I mean, hey, that's, if you want to love your nose for who you are and all that stuff, I'm all for it. But if you're somebody who always looks at it in pictures and you know that it will change your life, just getting like a bridge shaved down or something, I'm all about doing whatever makes you happy. And so she got it done, and she looks phenomenal. And she, 3 years after, is still like so in love with her results. And so I think that some of these surgeries can actually be life-changing. It's just a matter of knowing why you're doing these things in the first place. And, think about, some of the constructive surgery people have after car accidents and stuff, right? Like, it's just incredible. So I'm definitely for stuff like that, just really understanding why it is that you're getting it done.
Yeah, absolutely. Just real quick, before I move on to the next question, what specifically did you mean by heart chakras? Just assuming that I'm an idiot and I don't know about that.
Yeah, no, so if you have a hard time opening up to people, or you have a hard time feeling, or you have a hard time really just being able to love others and love yourself, you have the different chakras in your body. And so one of the chakras, there's 5. One of the chakras is your heart chakra. And so if you go back into time, there were different practices, and still even, there's different yoga, meditations, heart opening ceremonies, stuff like that you can go into. And it really just helps to be more open. And so when you can be more open, be more vulnerable, I believe that is the secret to connection. So when you have something in your body that's blocking your heart chakra, I believe that it almost is like a roadblock. And even if I try, like really, really try to be open, to do all the ceremonies and all the things, there's still this foreign object inside of me that's not allowing me to be like fully open. So that's just my beliefs on heart chakras and the implant blocking.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you. Actually, one more question on that then. So, obviously, like I said before, you have the Instagram talking about your journey of having your breast implant removed. What is the ultimate purpose of that Instagram? Like, who are you trying to serve? What are you trying to create in the world?
Yeah, so when I first posted about my journey to explant, which is implant removal, I had a lot of people reach out to me and ask about the process and tell them, like, they were basically saying, like, me too, like, I want to get mine out, they've been causing me so many problems, I just don't like them anymore. And so I realized really quickly that there weren't enough people sharing about their journey. And so I really wanted to be a resource. So I created a second Instagram account called No Fake Boobs, and it's basically just sharing my journey. And so we leave on Sunday, May 9th, and we go to Costa Rica, where I'll be having the surgery. And I just want to be there to be a resource for people and to answer any questions in regards to the process, because it can be scary, it can be uncomfortable. There's a lot of unknowns, especially with doctors. I would say like 80% of surgeons don't believe in this. And so you're really standing for something that's just really listening to your body versus like hardcore science facts. So again, I mean, a doctor will tell you it's fine, but when there's been 140,000 women who are not fine, it's important to speak up about it. So the whole point of it is just to be a resource, to be there, to answer people's questions if they're going through it, considering it, and just be that real raw piece of advice. Because like I said before, I really believe in being transparent, being vulnerable, sharing, what I've done in order to help others make informed decisions about their life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and I wish you all the best of luck with that. And I think it's very important to note that while many doctors do know and understand what they're talking about, I think I personally take the stance of the best way to know what is working and what isn't working for you is to listen to the biological indicators of your body. What is your body telling you? Like I've had doctors tell me before that, it's fine if you have a bit of sugar, but then whenever I have a little bit of sugar, whether it be in the form of chocolate or sweets or cake or whatever it might be, I'm always drained the next day. I never want to do any work the next day. So while the doctors may be telling me or anybody that this thing may be fine, if every time you do that thing you're having negative consequences and your body's telling you, hey, maybe you shouldn't be eating cake every night, then it's probably worth making those changes. And I think it's definitely a positive thing if you are making those changes based on what your body is telling you.
Yeah, and I think it's something that a lot of people need help with. They need a lot of help with really understanding, even foods, right? There's so many food allergies that people have, but they continue to eat it because they go in and get an allergy test and the doctor says you're not allergic to dairy, but every time you have some yogurt first thing in the morning, your stomach's all crampy, right? And so it's really knowing that there's experts, like doctors, and then there's your body. And it's like your body will not lie to you. Going back to your intuition and just really, taking that time to meditate, to tap into your subconscious, to really check in with yourself, see how you're doing, and to start living in alignment that feels better for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. You've almost got to treat yourself as somebody that you're caring for, and somebody that isn't like, they can't lie to you, like your body won't lie to you, like you said. So if you treat yourself as somebody that you're caring for, that you know won't lie for you, I think your life will improve massively.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, fantastic. On to the last question then. So you've somewhat recently got engaged to Craig Valentine, so congratulations for that. How do you find the time to balance and nurture both, several businesses and also a relationship simultaneously?
Yeah, so thank you. Thank you for the congratulations, and thanks for making the video on it too. That was so sweet of you. So how do you balance work and relationship? Well, Craig and I work together a lot, so we kind of understand we fully understand the structures of our days. But I think it's all about really having those boundaries in your day so that you you know what's up with the other person. So for instance, let's just call it, you and your partner are entrepreneurs and you've both got different schedules. Really setting aside time for your relationship and time for your business, because I know a lot of people and they'll go, on dates and stuff like that and have their date nights or whatever, but then they're only talking about business stuff, and there doesn't seem to be that separation. So it's really important to have separation with your business and your relationship. And so, maybe it's for you, like after 6 or 7 o'clock at night, we're only going to be talking about, our future, our plans, that kind of stuff for our home, the furniture that we want to have in our home or whatever it might be. And we're not going to be talking about lead generation and sales and all that stuff. So really just understanding that there needs to be structure. If you just wing it, things are going to be, it might work out, but it might not, right? So just really having that structure in your day so that you have time for both of them. So I think that's one of the biggest things that's helped us massively.
Definitely. And how do you make that mental shift then from, we're talking about business, we're talking about lead generation, to right now it's 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, now we're only going to talk about our personal life or our future plans with the house, with having a family, whatever it might be that you talk about. How do you kind of make that mental shift on the clock?
I think it's calling each other out. So if I notice that it's 7 o'clock and we're, still getting into conversation about a client from the day, then I say, hey, it's 7 o'clock, let's talk about our wedding. Let's talk about, plans and our future and stuff like that. And so then he knows, because we've had this conversation before, that 7 o'clock is our talking about us time, not work time. So it's communication, really, at the end of the day. It's communication, it's calling each other out, it's having those boundaries, respecting those boundaries, so that when the other person nudges you and says, hey, I said, we're not going to talk about this now, then they know.
I'm kind of noticing a trend, to be fair, where every healthy relationship that I've kind of witnessed or talked to someone about, it's always about having that open and honest communication and kind of being willing and able to call each other out when you need to and that sort of thing. So how long have you and Craig actually been together?
We have been together for 1.5 years, almost 2 years in November.
So, congratulations on that again, because that's obviously an achievement in and of itself, especially kind of with Tinder and everything existing right now. My question is then, what was dating like before you were with Craig? Do you find it easier now that you're in a relationship, trying to balance a relationship with a business? Or did you think it was easier in terms of trying to balance your life when you were single and maybe going out on dates or whatever else you might have been doing?
I definitely think that it's easier. I don't want to say it's easier when you're in a relationship, but I can only speak from my circumstance. Because we both are in the same type of business, we both have an understanding and a respect for it. Now, if I was dating someone who had a 9-to-5, who worked way too, maybe it was a 9-to-5 most days, but maybe it was a 9-to-7 some days, 9-to-8, really, really long days, there could be some problems and some friction. So I think that, I can speak for myself, and we're lucky because we both respect each other, we both know each other's business, we both work really closely together. So I think that's been really helpful for us.
That's good then, that's really good. How did you both actually meet then? Just to kind of give the audience an idea of how you can go about meeting somebody with those shared values, those shared goals in that similar lifestyle.
Yeah, I think it's important to understand what it is that you want. And so it's kind of funny because we have this idea of the type of person we want in our life, but not sticking to that too firmly, because I know that some people, have these long lists of I want him to be this tall, I want him to be, this from this country or from this, kind of background or whatever it might be. But I think it's important to have the same values. And so if you think to yourself, what are your values? What are important to you? Because those are deeply rooted. Those are things that, someone can look really good on the outside. They can look really good on paper for what they've done or accomplished. But if your values are not aligned, there can be some problems down the road. So first thing to do is identify what your values are, and then when you're going on dates and when you're, if you want to meet somebody who's got the same values as you, ask those values. Like, is this important to you to have kids? Is this important? Is your family life important to you, or is it not really important to you? What is your bigger vision for the world? Like, asking these questions that are kind of like, whoa, why are you asking me that? But that will help you eliminate people who are not in line with you. So first thing I would do is be strategic with your dating, like you were strategic with your business. So go to places where successful people hang out if you want to meet a successful person. If you're going to nightclubs and you're going to bars and like guys won't even buy you a drink, stop going there. Because depending on what your values are, you're not going to meet somebody who is at the level that you want to meet, right? So Craig and I actually met through a mutual friend, and he had asked her, like, hey, can you introduce me to some really great girls? She owned a business networking group in Toronto. And so she has a network of 10,000 women who all have businesses. And so he was very strategic with his approach too, right? Like, he went to somebody who has a roster of women who own businesses and who are, into personal development, all that kind of stuff. So she had sent him some profiles, like, hey, what about this girl, this girl, this girl? And he basically said no. He didn't like any of the girls. And he went through her Instagram and saw all the people that she was following, and I popped up, and he was like, what about this girl? And she was like, yeah, but she lives, on the West Coast now, not on the East Coast. And he was like, I still want to meet her. So then we got introduced, and that's how we met.
That's a very nice story, to be fair. I think it almost seems more magical if, like, Craig has been able to say no to all these women, and then still, like, he's sort of gone through on his own volition and strategically made the conscious decision that you were the one he wanted to meet, regardless of the location difficulties that might have existed.
And that's another, a good lesson in itself, right? It's like, just because something is difficult, or just because someone is on the other side of the, maybe area that you live in, it might even be the same area, but 45-minute drive, and you're like, too far, right? Really think about that. Because if sometimes you just go for the most convenient, it could be not the most convenient in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. It's much better to have those shared values than it is to be in close proximity. Mm-hmm. Just for example, we was talking before the call, I'm from a place called Lincolnshire, fields everywhere. My partner actually lives 3.5 hours away from me at the top of the UK, right up near Scotland in the north. And obviously if we had gone based on convenience, I would never have met her, would never have started dating. And frankly, there aren't many people where I'm from, so I have very, very slim pickings in terms of dating, in terms of friends even, where I'm from. So I absolutely agree with you. Values over convenience, definitely. Okay, that about wraps up all of my questions. Or is there anything else that you wanted to bring up, mention, or ask before we head off?
I think that we had a really great conversation and touched on a lot of different areas. My biggest thing would be to leave you with is that, some things can seem really challenging and really heavy, but just having the mindset of tomorrow is a new day to take baby steps towards your relationship, your business, whatever that might be, your goal, but just to start taking action, because you will never know the right answer to things unless you start moving towards them in slow steps. Absolutely.
That is a great message to end on. Thank you so much for coming on today, Michelle. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. And yeah, thank you guys for listening. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode.
Thank you.
And